Good morning all, sex and fertility. But before we do that, understand that even today, on a very dark day, it is still brighter outside than it is inside, and therefore you can phase correct your circadian rhythm. And what do I mean by phase correct? I mean that if your weather was anything like mine last night, it was fairly dark, fairly rainy, and therefore we put lights on. Those lights unfortunately phase delay our circadian rhythm, and by that I mean they delay our natural rhythm that would send us to sleep at a good hour. We put lights on, and therefore our body is tricked into thinking it is earlier in the day than it is, and therefore it negatively affects our ability to get a good quality night's sleep. So what can we do about that? We can get red light and put that on in the evening. We can exist by candlelight, don't burn your house down, in the evening when it gets darker. We can use much redder hues, so like oranges, etc. That doesn't have as much of an effect of phase delay. And we can also do this, get up and get outside in the morning to either phase accelerate or phase set our circadian rhythm, so our circadian rhythm is back where it should be, lined up with the right times of the day. And we can do this in the morning up until, let's say, around 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30. We can do this. We can phase correct our circadian rhythm. After that, we go into what's called the dead zone, where we can't phase shift by using light alone. And then in the evening time, we get to a certain stage where we can accelerate or delay our circadian rhythm again. But let's get back to sex and fertility. Now, I've posted a few images and papers before with regards to fertility, and photobiomodulation and fertility is it's been researched, not extensively, but it's been researched, and we've seen positive results in both male and female fertility, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And some of the female fertility ones in particular are absolutely remarkable. The studies out of Japan and Denmark showed some truly remarkable fertility results in females, and there's been some studies on sperm quality in males that have been pretty impressive. So it's absolutely something that you should look into in detail if you are having fertility issues. Talk to your doctor about it and look at the research yourself. And then if we're talking specifically about sex, then there are, to my knowledge, I think of one paper that I've read. There's a lot of anecdotal. There's some papers on testosterone, like sex urges, etc. But if we look at how photobiomodulation works, well, specifically red and infrared light, then we can understand why it might be beneficial if we're looking at kind of improved localized blood flow, if we're looking at increased vascular dimensions, if we're looking at increased vascular flexibility. These are all things that should improve sexual health and sexual performance. And having used red light therapy myself, I can tell you that some of the things, because you read a lot of anecdotal stuff on forums, etc., and some of the things are exaggerated, but others aren't if you're a male. Now, I've never tried, because the same things in theory might exist for females, increasing blood flow to that area. Now they've shown in terms of using internal, like vaginal wands. They've showed improved tissue health, improved tissue thickness, and kind of almost a rejuvenation of vaginal tissue, which is again brilliant if you are into that and need that. And what I was thinking is even externally, if you are doing something that improves localized blood flow and can improve the health of that vascular tissue, then that should lead to some improvements, whether subjective or objective, I don't know. But I can tell you from my own personal experience that it's pretty good. It's pretty impressive, pretty good. But that's just my own personal experience and what I've read with regards to the research that is out there. So what I'm going to do is I have started writing a blog post that's going to come out at the end of the week that goes into a lot more detail about sex and fertility with red and infrared light. And so what I would suggest is that if you're interested in sex and fertility or photobiomodulation, please have a read of that. And if you've got any questions, as always, feel free to reach out and ask. Have a great